What is the difference exactly between a CBDC and a stablecoin? It sounds to me like it's the same thing, but I'm not a Bitcoin expert. So, I'm not a
Sure,
crypto
sure.
expert. So what exactly is the difference?
Well, the difference is really just that the liability, so the underlying reserve for we've established a stable coin is a one-to-one peg. So there's like a digital twin, digital representation on a
Yeah.
blockchain of a tokenized thing that you trade, but it's representing something, held in the real world.
Sure.
So I think the gold one is kind of more easy to visualize, right? It's like I'm trading a gold token, but somewhere there's a vault that has an ounce of gold in it that's pegged directly to that token. So that token can
Okay.
move around all day and be traded, but that gold bullion stays in the vault, and
But
that's
it's
the
but it's tied to
reserve.
that. So
But
if
it's
somebody
right.
wanted to like cash it out and get their gold bullion, they'd
Yep.
be able to do that because it's like
Yep.
that. Yeah. Okay. We ship it to you.
Exactly. And so
Okay.
stable coins are the same. There's a dollar in a bank account somewhere, or a cash note in a vault, or more likely now, because of the Genius Act requiring certain backing, there's a treasury that are the reserves printed by the US government that's held by a private bank, that's represented one to one
Okay.
on a blockchain. So a
Sure.
CBDC would just be that liability and that issuance is done by a federal, cutout. So it would be by the Fed, held at the Treasury. It would be a central bank, or not looking at U.S. stuff. The central bank of Kenya, would have their CBDC, and it would be held by the governing body, the liability held by the governing body of whichever central bank around the world, is
Okay.
issuing their CBDC. So a stable coin is just the issuance of the
Privatized. It just sounds like it's
yeah,
a privatized
it's a
CBDC.
PBDC, a private bank digital currency versus a
Okay.
central bank digital
Got it.
currency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, right. Well, that seems problematic. I mean, just I guess if I had to choose, I would prefer the central bank digital currency. I would just think that the government would have less. I mean, if I had to choose, I think that the government would maybe have less ability to, because one of the problems with private industry is they can do whatever they want. And the excuse is always, well, they're a private company. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's really tricky because obviously, I think with good reason, a lot of us have developed some trust issues with these people that have abused our trust and abused
Right.
public office to either line their pockets with contracts and insider trading and all that, or just the gross overstep that we saw. Not to keep bringing up COVID, but it's so important to the digitalization of money was like accelerated
Yeah.
times 1,000 because of COVID, and it was done by design, not COVID done by design. I don't want to get you demonetized, and I'm not even sure if I believe that, but I mean, the acceleration was designed.
Right.
Hey, we don't want to touch bills. They're gross. They're nasty. Let's not use cash. Let's use
Mhm.
digital money. So
Yeah.
we're in that paradigm. It's already happened. And to be frank, the dollar's been digital for a long time. But
Right.
stable coins really come up as this new way to ensure surveillability, programmability, seizability via public sector cutouts that are beholden to public sector legislation and pressures. It is sort of the worst of both worlds. So I'm not here to advocate for CBDCs. I'm not here to
Right.
advocate for anything. I think finances are a personal choice, and you have to really choose what's best for you and your family. But the important thing here is to just learn about something that's going to happen and is going to affect, honestly, in my opinion, everybody on the earth, specifically as it relates to the digitalization of our financial system.
Right.
It's a global thing, and also specifically, the stablecoin play is very interesting because it's being pushed by our government, specifically as a way to keep dollar reserve currency status as the world reserve currency.
Mhm.
And the way that it really does that is, it uses technology. So, Peter Thiel, our old friend that, gets talked about now all the time, co-founder of PayPal, which developed an anti-fraud algorithm that then became Palantir, which is now very buddy buddy with this current administration. Thiel has been there from the beginning of the stablecoin industry. And in fact, the founder of Tether, Brock Pierce, who is a very controversial figure who was featured pretty prominently in the Open Secret documentary about a pedophile ring in Los Angeles called the Digital Entertainment Network. He's an old Disney star, child star, and he founded Tether. And he had spent years on the PayPal advisory board, and was their biggest customer for years at the start of PayPal. He helped them develop their credit card payment processing, and he had worked with Steve Bannon, who's obviously a big Trump advisor, and they were working on digital goods. Back in the day of World of Warcraft and massively multiplayer online these RPG games, they were developing an economic system for virtual goods well before Bitcoin had even come out. Really tied directly to PayPal and to Peter Thiel and to this founding group. He ran a gaming fund with Clearstone Ventures. Clearstone is a spinoff of Idea Labs, which was a think tank in Los Angeles that was the first institutional investor of PayPal. They were the ones that gave them their money to start. And one of the co-founders of it, Bill Elkis, was a trustee of the J. Epstein Foundation, which is very interesting. Brock Pierce is an Epstein affiliate as well. Obviously, we know Thiel is. It's come out recently that Thiel actually was given money by Epstein to invest through Valor Ventures, which he actually invested in a stablecoin company with Yellow Card. But regardless, this guy, Brock Pierce, he has all these connections to the intelligence community via Peter Thiel and Palantir, and they really started this, digital revolution. That's really what PayPal was. People like to talk about the PayPal mafia. David Sachs is now in the government, the extended Elon Musk, all this, but everyone kind of forgets PayPal, right? No one really
Mhm.
talks about PayPal, but they dollarized the internet. They made the dollar the unit of account on eBay. They really were the first ones to make it when you did a transaction on the internet, you were using dollars.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep dollar reserve status, is you have as many users of the dollar as possible. So PayPal really understood that. There's actually a great book by an early marketing executive at PayPal called The PayPal Wars. And he talks about how Thiel did this speech at the very beginning of PayPal when there was like 30 employees. And he says how PayPal is going to offer this service to the world where all of these people that are basically enslaved by their central banks and the mismanagement of their local currencies, because of technology, will be able to have access to dollars and will be able to get out from under the slavery of their central banks, in Argentina, in Central America, South America, Global
Mhm.
South. They'll be able to get out of the tyranny of central banks and get beautiful, beautiful dollars and, be able to get out of, central bank tyranny. And PayPal will be the technology that will allow them to do that. Now, he's absolutely right that there is central bank tyranny, of course. I mean, it's not a fun thing to live under the tyranny of a central bank. That's true. But what does that actually mean? What's the second order effects of that type of system? It centralizes the US central bank to be the central bank of the world,
Right.
which it is in many ways already, but if you use technology to eliminate the ability for a central bank and a local government to keep capital within the peso, the yuan, the yen, and all of a sudden your citizens can download an app, use a smartphone, and take their money that they normally save in yen or whatever local currency, and now they get access to the dollar. Yes, it's true that stable coins and this technology will destroy central banking, but it will destroy 189 of the 190, and the
Right.
one left, it's going to be the central bank of the United States, which is the Federal Reserve System, which I think at this point it's pretty fair to say that the United States government doesn't always have the best interests of its own citizens or of the world's citizens, certainly. And when we give that concentrated power, sold as an altruistic good to the world, but it's really creating this centralizing, 8 billion people are now able to get access to the dollar. And the access to the dollar has all of these concerns we just expressed that a CBDC would have: the programmability, surveillability, seizability. Now that total addressable market is everybody in the world. I
Yeah.
mean, how could that be more dystopian, with warrantless surveillance, seizability, all of these things? The I empathize and sympathize with the people that want to get out of their local currency, that it's hyperinflating. I mean, I of course I'm not a monster. I understand, but what's the second order effect of everybody fleeing their capital, their
Right.
local currency, and moving into the dollar?
Yeah,
It's
you feed the
more,
beast. You're
you
feeding
feed
the
the
beast and making
yeah.
him bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's disturbing, the second order
Yeah.
effects of it, because they already have so much control. The US government is already, they
Yeah.
use economic sanctions really as one of their, we don't really.
Main tools of war,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, we don't really fight that many hot wars that much. I mean, it's drone warfare, technology
If you
warfare.
can control the money, you control everything, and
Exactly.
that's yeah. So the U.S. is. I mean, I wonder. I wonder if when Peter Thiel made that speech and he was like, "We're going to convert everybody over to the U.S. dollar," essentially. I wonder if he realized at that time what kind of power it would give him specifically and the PayPal mafia. I mean, people underestimate their power, and people always want to say who runs the world, and they want to blame it on the Jews or the
Right.
Rockefellers or
Right. Right.
like all these people. It's like, or
Sure.
maybe it's the PayPal mafia. Whoever's in charge of the money is in charge of the world. I mean,
Yes.
and if you're the company that is really, and for a long time it's been oil, right? We've seen how many wars
Absolutely.
have been fought over oil because of the petrodollar, needing to prop up the dollar using oil, making sure that that stays, being traded in dollars. But if there, but behind the scenes, there was this other thing going on technologically, right? With
Absolutely.
the now the whole world runs on dollars thanks to PayPal and maybe some
Yeah.
others. But that then created a group of people who are, I mean, you can't piss those people off. I mean, if you're the government, you have to do, those people are now, they're the new oil. They're
Uh,
propping up your currency.
you couldn't have
So,
you couldn't have nailed it any better, because that is exactly the thesis of my book, The Bitcoin Dollar, which is that Bitcoin has been silently replacing oil and petrol
yeah,
as the petrol half of the petrodollar. It's now the Bitcoin dollar. And you're absolutely right. It's the infrastructure barons, the oilmen, they run the world, and the people that run the dollars that that are behind the petrodollar, they really do run the world. And it's not a conspiracy in a negative way. I mean, it's just literally
it's just what it is.
true. It
It
just,
is what it
yeah.
is. It is what it is.
Exactly. And you even look at the foundation of the Federal Reserve. Who was it? Who were the people? Yeah, they were bankers, but they were the infrastructure barons. They were the oilmen and the steelmen. They were the people that held the real world value, the things that made America great.
Right.
They were they were those guys. And then they all formed together, and they're like, hey, how can we consolidate, our legacies even more? How can Rockefeller and Carnegie and all these people and steel and the oil guys, how can we all come
Yeah.
together and make this monopoly consolidate and last? Well, let's make a central bank, and
Right.
let's use our powers of, we hold the oil and the steel and the weapons, and now we hold the dollars. I mean, that consolidated power significantly. We're seeing that now again with the crypto barons. That's a fun phrase. That's sort of what the PayPal mafia, really are. And you can see that, wow, it's really interesting. They dollarized the internet with PayPal, and then they managed to, you know, basically start Facebook, start LinkedIn,
Yeah,
YouTube,
everything. I mean, Elon
X.
Musk,
Yeah,
they're all over the place. I mean, these guys are the wealthiest and the most and you can see the access they have even to the government because they're not the ones that look like they have the power. They just do have the power. They don't need
exactly.
to look like they have the power. What do you care? If you have the power, you don't care if anybody knows it. Because you have all the power, right? So you don't
Totally.
in fact, you'd probably prefer if people didn't know you had all the power. You just would just continue wielding your power without people realizing it. And, I mean, so you're bringing up so that's why I wonder if Peter Thiel at that time realized how much power that would actually give him. Like, well, if I do this and if I can prop up the dollar, if I can be the guy propping up the dollar with PayPal, then I will control the government. I mean, yeah, we'll have a figurehead that looks like a president. We'll have people that are, in office doing all the dirty work, having to show up to Washington every day. but I actually control all of them because they
Yeah.
have to do what I want because
Yeah.
I'm the one who's propping up the dollar, and without me, the whole thing collapses, just
Ab-
like we do with oil.
100%. I mean, this is the PayPal presidency. I participated in a podcast series on Unlimited Hangout with Whitney Webb called The PayPal Presidency that was
Mhm.
focusing on the different angles of this. And I obviously talked about the economic side of it. But yeah, I mean, I think he did. I think he did know.
Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.